Day 3 is upon us, the final Game of the Year video for this channel. This vacation is so close I can almost taste it, but we have one more. Top 10 list for the year. It is my top 10 physical disc media based games of 2018. And as always, I am your host, Attack Slug, and it's my personal list, so don't get salty about it. But if you have a differing opinion, then leave it down in the comments below. And so with that out of the way, let's get started. Number 10 is Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And from what I could see, this game was a little bit divisive this year. I thought it did a great job at tying up the end of this reboot trilogy. And to me, it did address some of the issues that I had with Rise of the Tomb Raider, primarily way too many combat sequences. I want more exploration. I want more gorgeous vistas to look at, and this game provided just that. And I know some folks are perhaps burned out on this particular Uncharted Tomb Raider formula, and you wonder, alright, you finished the trilogy, where do you go from here? The original ending did tease the dual pistols, but that got patched out, which is weird. But overall, I found it to be a very enjoyable experience, and if they want to take a break from Lara Croft for a few years, I'd also be okay with that. Number 9 is the Tetris Effect, but I want to be perfectly clear. This is on this list because I played through the campaign mode in virtual reality. Had I not played through it in VR, it wouldn't be on this list at all. Because while I do love Tetris, one of the greatest games in human history, last year there was Puyo Puyo Tetris. Also excellent, but not really Game of the Year material. Even though it's really good, it's still pretty much Tetris. But playing through a VR Tetris from the creator of Lumines and Rez and Child of Eden, the soundscape and the visual treatment and all of that as you are going through these different environments and things are happening all kind of in your periphery as you are focusing on the Tetris, it just all worked so really, really well. I'm not going to go as far to say it was a transcendent experience, but I will say if you have a PSVR, you owe it to yourself to at least play through the journey mode in this game. Number 8 is Detroit Become Human. It's, yes, another David Cage game, another Quantic Dream game, and if you know what that phrasing means, then you know kind of what this is. But what is so incredibly impressive in Detroit Become Human is the amount of variation, the amount of permutations. It's as if they took a choose-your-own-adventure book and took it to the logical extension and conclusion in a video game format where just about everything you do is going to affect the path you're on, so the game that you play and the game that I play could have wildly different conclusions. And while the actual gameplay here is kind of hit or miss, just the staggering amount of variations and options you have as you go through these stories is what makes this game amazing. And perhaps some of that might be lessened if you played through it kind of more than once and poked and prodded at how things change. For me, I gave it a single playthrough, and that was my story. While I do think the actual story they told was certainly ham-fisted and heavy-handed and very David Cage, I thought the variables within are what made it interesting. Number 7 is SpiderMan. SpiderMan. Of course, SpiderMan. I'm sorry, Marvel's SpiderMan, one of my top games of the year, and I don't even read comics. I don't even watch comic movies, but man, they crafted an amazing open world that I wanted to go out and play in. I've been a fan of the studio Insomniac for quite some time, and now I am happy to see more folks being exposed to their take on the open world genre. And while I played my fair share of open world games this year, Spider-Man was the most fun to traverse in, which is, for me, one of the most important things in that genre of game. And in contrast to Red Dead, I was actually able to finish the main story of the game. That was nice. Number 6 is Moss, which is a VR exclusive, and Moss really could not be played on a regular 2D platform. Like, it wouldn't work, because you have the kind of a storybook diorama type situation, and you're kind of looking in, you're peeking in to that world. And everything in that world has been placed with such a loving care. The animations are spectacular and lifelike. You really feel like you're guiding this little mouse through this environment to go on this grand adventure. And if you've been wary of VR gaming because of perhaps motion sickness, Moss is stationary. You're looking in, you aren't moving around, you're moving the character. So there was zero motion sickness, and it was just a very enjoyable experience. I'm always glad to see more games that use the VR functionality to its fullest, and Moss was definitely one of those this year. Number 5 is Hitman 2, and what can I say about Hitman 2 that I didn't already say about Hitman 1, which was the Hitman remake in 2016, which they've just made more of that. They've taken that very, very sound and solid structure and tacked on more quality of life additions, more things you didn't even know you wanted, and gave you all new environments to play around in this murder, puzzle, stealth sandbox, and it's still amazing. And if somehow you missed out on that first Hitman, you can import all the maps into this Hitman, and it gives you all those gameplay improvements in those original maps. So you get a whole lot of Hitman for your money. It is consistently one of the most amusing games I've played all year, just because of how straight they play it and how ridiculous they know it is. And there is nothing as satisfying as making your way through a stage, undetected, murdering your target, getting out, and no one was the wiser. Number 4 was God of War. I didn't intend that to rhyme, it just kind of happened that way. So God of War, or the God of War reboot as such, as someone who hasn't played a God of War since that first one on the PS2, I would not call myself a fan of the franchise, much like SpiderMan, but good God almighty, God of War was a hell of a trek. I went into this game with pretty much zero expectations, and it was like, alright, well I kind of have to play it because of what I do here on YouTube, and I'll play it for a little bit, and then I'll do a video on it, and then I'll send it back to Gamefly. But no, I had to finish this game. Like, it was so gripping, and the narrative was so compelling, I just could not put it down. So even in not being that excited, I am 1000% on board for whatever they do next. Like, I need more of this. I need more giant boss fights. There weren't boss fights, but more giant boss fights. I need more old man Kratos. And boy. Number 3 is 428 Shibuya Scramble, a game I didn't do any coverage of on this channel this year because I don't cover visual novels in video format on this channel, but I still play a number of visual novels. And this game, which originally launched on the Wii back in like 2008, finally got an English translation this year on PS4 and on Steam, and it's basically like playing 24 in video game format. You're breaking it down into hour chunks, and different intersecting storylines all kind of play off each other, and I couldn't put it down. This game has like 80 or 90 bad endings, where just things keep going wrong in the most hilarious or tragic of ways, but then eventually you find the right dialogue choices to choose and progress through that hour, and then at the end of that hour, you get that teaser of that next hour, and you're like, oh man, I gotta go to bed, but no, I gotta keep reading 428 Shibuya Scramble. Number 2 is Yakuza 6, and in 2018, once again, we got 2 Yakuza games. And obviously, I prefer to focus on the newer ones, so much like last year, Yakuza 6 over that Yakuza 2 remake, mainly because I actually finished Yakuza 6. I haven't started the Yakuza 2 remake just yet. And this, my friends, is the fitting send-off for Kiryu Kazuma. He's done. As the protagonist of the series, his time in the spotlight after like 7 or 8 games, if you include Zero and Dead Souls, it's over, you guys. And I couldn't think of a more fitting send-off in a game with a revamped combat engine and all of the usual Yakuza trappings, the open world, all the different shops to go into, all the minigames, all the side quests. There's just so much here that I'll never finish it all. But the story alone is so compelling that even if you don't touch all of the volume of side stuff, it is still 1000% worth playing. And eventually, we're going to get Yakuza 7 with a new protagonist, and that's going to be weird. But before that, we're going to get Judgment next year from this team, and I am super freaking hyped for that, man. Number 1 goes to Astrobot Rescue Mission, and as I said in my video yesterday, my only real criteria for my top 10 list is just how much fun, how much joy did I get from the game. Hour count doesn't matter. Price, not important. how much did I enjoy it, and man, Astrobot Rescue Mission, PSVR exclusive, and another game that you can kind of only do in VR. It's a platformer of the Mario 64 variety, but it kind of only works in VR, as you are looking around in the environment for different things to interact with. And the Mario comparison is certainly an apt one because it feels like a game that Nintendo would have designed had they actually ever gotten into the VR space. They take that incredibly solid core platforming and then they're just constantly surprising you with new concepts and different variations on their stages. It seems like around every corner there is some new or clever or fresh idea that is just constantly engaging you to move forward. Not once in my 5 or 6 hour playthrough did I ever feel bored. I was constantly engaged. It's the first game since Resident Evil 7 in VR where as soon as I got out of VR, I wanted to get back into VR and keep playing this game. If you own a PSVR headset and you don't own Astrobot Rescue Mission, you are doing it wrong. This is one of the core reasons to own this technology. This is one of the things you buy it for because it's just so bursting with joy and fun, and I don't even have any more words right now because I've been sitting here recording for so freaking long, but man, Astrobot is awesome. I don't know what this studio does next, but you can bet your bottom dollar I'm there on day one. And that wraps up my 3 days of Game of the Year video. Now it's time to sit down, hit stop, edit this video, and then take a nap for the first week in January because, good God, I'm exhausted. I thank everyone for hanging out on my channel all year. It's been a great time. 2019, we'll see what changes bring in the coming year, but right now, I'm Attack Slug. I'm tired. I'll see you next time. More videos every day right here on this channel. And I'm out!